ain't but two genders. Ain't nothing but men and women.
He says God called on men to lead, not women.
Called to be led by men. When it was time to face down Goliath, sent David, not Devita, David.
We have a little bit of breaking news, and when I saw this breaking news coming, I said, you know, I know who I need to contact. It's Cliff Schecter. I will read from the CNN story here. Mark Robinson, the controversial and socially conservative Republican nominee for governor of North Carolina, made a series of inflammatory comments on a pornography website message board more than a decade ago, in which he referred to himself as a black Nazi and expressed support for reinstating slavery. This, according to CNN. Despite the recent history of anti-transgender rhetoric, Robinson said he enjoyed watching transgender pornography. A review of archived messages found in which he was also referred to himself as a perv. So, is anybody surprised the guy that bloviates about morality all the time seems to have a bit of a sketchy past?
It's weird. It just seems like this story never happens, where thou doth protest too much. It's like when Newt Gingrich goes after Democrats for their marriages. Or I can't get through. Like, I mean, the list is endless. And it just, you know, you've talked about this a lot. You've had some great rants here about this. I talk about this all the time. I go all the way back to in their early days, the first days of the now much bigger Young Turks, you know, on YouTube.
Yeah,
I pitched them and did a regular segment starting in about, I want to say 2003, for about 2 or 3 years, called Republican Sexcapades.
Now, the Young Turks proudly present a naked look at the party of family values, where GOP stands for and right to life takes a backseat to right to licentiousness. Republican Sexcapades, where real family values don't have a prayer. Hide the altar, boys, and cover the kitty's ears. Here's today's edition of Republican Sexcapades with Cliff Schecter.
That's what it was called. And it literally was just the Republican sexual hypocrisy of the week. I mean, think back to even those times. David Vitter, you know, showing up on the DC Madams list after he lectured us all about, you know, about sex. And my God, Mark Foley, who was a congressman who voted with the Republicans, was conservative and secretly was hitting on the male pages there. And I mean, the list went on and on to the point where you're not just saying this is a coincidence. You're getting to a point, and plenty of psychologists with a hell of a lot more training than I have said this, that there is something to the fact that these people who will not shut up about everybody else's sexual preferences, sexual behavior, you know, in general, it's because they are so deeply self-loathing. They're so deeply ashamed of who they are that they have to push it on the rest of us. Now, sometimes they should be.
There's no reason anybody anywhere in America should be telling any child about transgenderism, homosexuality, any of that filth. And yes, I called it filth.
We could pass a bill saying you can't have an abortion in North Carolina for any reason.
He says the civil rights movement in the 1960s was, quote, crap, and that Martin Luther King was a communist.
I mean, obviously, if this is something with someone who is not a consenting adult or that kind of thing, that is against the law. You are a criminal. You are a horrible person. But sometimes it's those things. But sometimes it's things that are acceptable to almost, you know, all of us. I wish it were all of us. Like the examples you gave. By the way, you missed one. He also admitted to peeping in the women's shower. This dude was filming his own version of Porky's. I think it was going to be one of the sequels. Wow. They ended up not coming out. But yeah, when he was in college in North Carolina. So he's been at this for a long time. Wow. You know, there's only one thing in the things you listed in there that is completely acceptable. Porn, I don't care what the hell he does. But that's the one thing that I promise you that bothers the Republicans. All the other stuff is fine. Oh, he called himself a Nazi? Who doesn't these days? Oh, you know, he said he peeped in showers. That seems fine to me. You know, wait a minute. Does he like to see them naked? Kick him off the ticket. Throw him in prison. Get the camps ready. You know, they're building a gulag already on the Outer Banks for him, I'm sure.
The thing, you just nailed it. The point you and I are bringing up about transgender porn, as long as it's legal and it's consenting adults, knock yourself out. I could care less. Could care less.
Right.
It's your stances, it's your hypocrisy that I and Cliff love to point out. It's the fact that you rail against the transgender population, that you rail against anyone that's that you feel is anyway against this very strict guidelines of relationships. And here you are being yourself. I mean, you and I both know during the RNC, the Grindr app kept failing because the Republicans
said it was like Christmas. The CEO of Grindr was quoted as saying it's like Christmas for us.
Robinson posted the movie Black Panther was, quote, created by an agnostic Jew to pull the shekels out of your Schwartz pockets, using the Yiddish words for money and black.
He referred to the victims of the Parkland school shooting as spoiled little bastards.
He says the moon landing in 1969 may have been fake. He also says there is a secret ruling cabal that is part reptile.
And said that Beyonce is satanic.